All right, Rob, before we get into all the games this weekend, I want to get into your defending of Lamar, which I think is totally valid. You have your own experience with that. You have a relationship with Lamar. And, of course, we're all we remember 2012 so well. And I don't know if it was in your post or somebody else, you had the picture of when you got hurt again in that Seattle game. Remind people, so you got hurt in that Ravens game, right? Where you guys had turned it around. Then I think the next game was Cleveland. That's when Kirk came in, right? Got a W against Cleveland. And then you played against Philly and Dallas. Philly game, you only ran a couple times, only 4 yards. Looked like maybe, okay, we don't know what Robert's dealing with here. But then you rushed for 63 yards in that Dallas game. Can you kind of just talk about what was going in your mind? Are you now saying that you shouldn't have played in those last few games? Explain, because I remember I was so thrilled that you were.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the whole point is that what Lamar is going through right now, I lived through it already. And I didn't have anybody there to tell me, hey, this isn't the smart decision. This isn't the right move. If I had that hindsight being 2020, I would have never played the rest of that year, let alone in that playoff game. So, the way I look at it is, guys, I played so Lamar didn't have to play. And what I was trying to get across last night on the show, it wasn't that it was about my situation, but the simple fact is I talked to the people in the organization. I talked to Lamar. I know exactly what's going on. So for me to present that information and people to still try to go hijack the narrative and weaponize it against Lamar and or the team, I just think is just completely, it's not just wrong, it's not the truth. So last night was just an example of, in my opinion, people wanting the story to be something that it's not. And I wanted to be a voice in that situation because it's not how I feel. It's exactly what's going on. So that's just the bottom line. And like I said, hindsight's 2020. So for me, looking back,
it got very contentious. I thought, Robert, I thought it got very contentious on set between you and Steve, and Booger, Booger.
No. I don't think it got contentious in any way.
Well, that was just my vibe as a viewer.
Yeah. When Boog and Steve started talking about their interpretation of Lamar's tweet, like all of that is fair game. Lamar put the tweet out. They can feel about it however they want. It was more so just the fact of, like, why was Lamar not playing? He wasn't playing because he was hurt. Why didn't he travel? He didn't travel because he was sick. Those are facts. That's not an opinion. And to me, there is no, hey, two things can be true in that situation.
Well, yeah, because what did you think of guys like Vic? Because I don't know what Steve and Booger were saying, but when guys like Vic were saying, hey, I played a whole year with that injury, I just braced it up and played, and other guys, old school guys saying things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I played with no ACL and no LCL, right? So we all think that we're Superman, that we're the toughest people in the world, that, we can overcome anything. And your mindset is always, I'm going to go out there and put it all on the line. Lamar's got a PCL injury. I've never had a PCL injury. As far as I know, no one else who's commented on his injury had a PCL injury. So to say, hey, this ligament is equal to that ligament, or my injury is equal to that injury, is just not true. And for Lamar Jackson and what he has in the future, it's not just about his long-term future, but the simple fact is he couldn't go out there and play and be Lamar Jackson. When I played in those last few games of the year in 2012 and in that playoff game, I wasn't able to be my complete self. Anyone who saw me rush for 60 yards in that Cowboys game saw that I was running on one leg at the end of the year.
Yeah, but I didn't know, Robert.
There was that touchdown run that I had down the left sideline. All of my teammates, go ask Logan Paulson. They were like, "Bro, are you okay?"
Right.
Because I wasn't able to be myself, and I think that Lamar in his not even his defense, but the fact that he's not healthy, he wasn't going to be able to go out there and be the shape-shifting, shifty guy who can throw the ball 70 yards down the field that everybody would want him to be. And at the end of the day, if you can't go out there and be healthy, you shouldn't be out there playing, especially at a position like quarterback.
Well, I didn't know it was a given. I thought I followed that situation pretty closely, that you actually started that Seattle game with a completely torn ACL. I thought there was a play in the middle of that game there where it went where maybe you finally tore it.
No, the misconstrued or unknown fact is that in that Baltimore game when I got hit by Haloti Ngata, I had actually torn my LCL and ACL in that game.
Completely. So, that ACL was completely or partially?
I don't know if it was completely torn or partially torn, but I know that my LCL and ACL in that game were both damaged. LCL was gone.
Yeah.
Got that, kind of just healed a little bit over time the last couple of weeks of the season, but the ACL was also. So, listen, at the end of the day, people will say, hey, well, it was tough, it was brave. Yeah, I got it, but it was stupid. And that's just the bottom line, and it altered my career. And me and Lamar had many conversations about that in my 3 years in Baltimore. And I'm happy for him that he's not making the same mistakes that I did.
So do you think Lamar signs the franchise tag? Is that what's going to happen? Is that the future?
Listen, I don't know what's going to happen as far as
What's your gut? What's your gut?
What I do know is that the team wants to sign him to a long-term deal. Lamar obviously wants to sign a long-term deal, and that both sides are going to work towards that this offseason. If that doesn't happen, you would guess everything's on the table. Do I think Lamar would sign a franchise tag? I can't speak for Lamar, but I know that Lamar loves one thing and one thing only, and that's playing football. And if not signing that franchise tag is going to prevent him from playing football, then I think he signs a franchise tag.
Do you think it hampers him representing himself and not having an agent? Have you had discussions with him about that?
Man, listen, people have to understand Lamar, and Lamar is his own man. He is going to do what he thinks is best and what he wants to do. He wants to negotiate his own contract. I think every GM in the NFL has stated this about players representing themselves. It's so much more difficult. These GMs are they're going to talk to agents and they're going to say things about the player that most of these agents aren't going to go back and tell their player. Right. So now when you're having to deal or negotiate with a player, you're going to say some things to that player that they might not agree with. I haven't met a player yet that thinks there's another player at his position that is better than him. I haven't met one. That everybody's an A-type personality. So for Lamar, he's going to say, I deserve to get paid the most money ever. I deserve a fully guaranteed contract. And when now the GM has to go into the player and say, hey, well, what about this player and what he's getting? And we think he's better than you. And this guy's been less injury prone than you are. And this is what he's making. Players don't want to hear that. So, yes, it makes it extremely tedious and difficult for a GM to be as open with a player as he would with an agent. So, yes, it makes it more difficult.